Hello, I'd like to talk with students and with parents about our practice record that we use in my music classes. I've been teaching full-time since the year 2000, and I've used many different versions of practice records over the years, and the version that we're using right now in my music classes is by far my very favorite, and so I'm very eager to share it with you and explain it to you. So let's get started. Each month, students will get a new practice record. It will be labeled with the current month, and it will be printed on a different color of paper each month. You'll notice that it's printed on both sides. On the first side, the top half is labeled week 1 for the first week of the month, and the bottom half is labeled week 2. On the back, you'll see weeks 3 and week 4. Each week includes 5 sections because students should ideally practice your instruments 5 days a week. If you practice more than that, then that's great, but you don't need to write it down on those extra days. Now let's talk a little bit about what students should write in their practice records. I remind my students that every time I meet with you, I have a lesson plan and I have a primary goal or objective for the class session. And I think likewise, you should have a primary goal or objective for your practice session. Without a specific goal, it's easy just to waste time or to play songs that you already know or generally be inefficient with your practice time. But when you have a primary goal or objective for your practice session, it will really help you be more effective and efficient with your practice time. So to help students with that concept, the practice record includes the question, before you start, what are you going to practice? Now, I realize this might be a little bit of a tricky question for some students, but let's think for a minute about what to practice. The most obvious answer might be that you need to practice a specific song or a specific exercise from the music book or from something that we've been working on in class. Also, when students start getting more advanced music and longer songs, they might need to practice specific measures or specific segments of the song. Now, on a different level, students might need to work on specific musical skills or musical concepts that aren't really related to a specific song or exercise from the book. For example, you might want to improve your bow hold or improve your embouchure. You might need to work on improving your posture or the way you hold your instrument, or in general, just working out some sort of a bad habit and replacing it with a good habit. Now, some musical skills might not even involve playing your instrument. For example, learning how to read and count rhythms is a very important skill that every musician needs to develop. And so if counting and clapping rhythms is something that you're working on, then by all means, include that on your practice record. And likewise, if you're learning how to read notes on the music staff and you're spending time doing flashcards or doing music worksheets, learning how to read notes on the music staff, then absolutely you can include that in your practice record. Now, a major emphasis of my YouTube channel is dedicated to practicing your instrument effectively, and so I won't go into a whole lot of detail about how to do that right here in this video, but I do hope you understand that this practice record is really designed to help you use your practice time effectively. Now, you may have noticed that there's nowhere on the practice record that asks you how many minutes you've practiced your instrument. And that's really intentional. We've done that on purpose in this practice record. Now, there's no denying that it takes time to develop your musical skills and to develop excellence. However, it doesn't really help you at all to just write down the number of minutes that you've had your instrument out in front of you if you haven't really been using your practice time effectively. If a student has a good goal for their practice session, a meaningful and important goal for their practice session, and they're satisfied with their progress, then that's a meaningful practice session, and that's a success. Now, you may have noticed the happy face and the sad face at the right side of each box. And this isn't there for me to judge the student and whether or not I'm happy with the work. This is there for the student to evaluate their own work and to decide for themselves whether they're happy or sad about their progress. And I do tell students that it's okay sometimes if you circle that sad face. We all have times that are challenging and maybe you didn't feel like you met your goals in that practice session, but hopefully over the course of time, you'll enjoy the process of learning how to play your instrument and of meaningful practice, and you'll circle more and more of those happy faces as time goes on. Now, for parents, if you're not a musician, that's okay. I'd encourage you to have a meaningful dialogue and a conversation with your student about what they're learning in music class. I think it can be a very meaningful experience for students to talk with their parents about what they're learning, and they can even teach you a little bit. Well, I hope that this practice record will be a helpful part of your musical life and your growth as a music student, and I hope you'll have a great time practicing your instrument. Thanks for watching.